If you've spent enough time flipping through the Daggerheart rulebook, odds on favor is you've come across something known as frames. But the question is, what are frames? Well, they're a little bit like this. This was a really stupid joke. But frames are to Daggerheart what settings are to games like D&D and Pathfinder. So think of things like Golarion, Faerun, Greyhawk, Dragonlance, you name it, where each setting has a different tone, fiction, and vibe of fantasy. Frames and Daggerheart do the exact same thing, but they do have a wide variety of tones and genre. Want a more Souls-like experience? Then go for Age of Umbra. Perhaps you wish to have Old West meets Shadow of the Colossus, then go for Colossus of the Dry Lands. Seriously, it's like smashing together Deadlands and Shadow of the Colossus. Then you can also do more sci-fi cyberpunk with stuff like Motherboard. The list can honestly go on, and you can see at least 2 of these frames in action with Critical Role for Age of Umbra, and then also Dice Cream Sandwich with Beast Feast. Then for the more homebrewed experience, you can check out Talking XP's Bitten campaign, which is more of a horror aesthetic in case that wasn't clear. None of these are sponsored, they're just excellent examples of running the game. But getting back on track, what makes frames unique is really down to 2 specific things. Number 1, they're blank slates. When you read these frames, it is clear what's being set up is the overall vibe for the game itself. You're not given a map or location names. Rather, you are informed of the current ongoing story within the setting that you as the GM and table can modify as you see fit. You're also given potential inciting incident that you can use for your campaign. You don't have to use these things, but it's nice that they include it in case a GM is hitting a writer's block and just can't come up with any ideas and would like to use something to bounce off of or modify entirely. They also include things like guides for players to keep in mind and also guides for things for the GM to keep in mind when writing out a campaign for this particular frame. Furthermore, they let you know ahead of time the difficulty of a given frame. So if you're new, jumping to one of the easier ones to see how things work out is not a bad idea. But if you want to dive headfirst into one of the more challenging ones, by all means. Which leads us to the second point. Number 2, mechanics for each frame. Each frame has specific rules on how they function, from what ancestries are most commonly found there and even classes. Obviously, you can't ignore this portion of the rules. However, it's nice that they include it because doing so can really help set up an idea for the fiction that the frame is going for, and can be used as a bit of an elevator pitch to your players. From there, at the end of each frame, you're given specific mechanics that you're meant to implement within the world. These mechanics can range from scars your characters gain during battle to increased damage output, but that has a negative cost and is something to be avoided. How magic looks more like tech, specific firearm rules for a campaign, and also rules on how to make a feast out of creatures you find like you were in episode Delicious in Dungeon. I really like this aspect of frames within Daggerheart. Granted, introducing mechanics to a world is really nothing new. Many DMs have been doing that for their own settings or even modifying existing ones for, well, basically as long as the hobby has existed. However, having it in an official capacity is just really nice. It's a really nice succinct way to inform the GM how this campaign is supposed to function, which can allow for the GM to basically condense everything down into an elevator pitch that they can then, well, pitch to their players and inform them how everything is supposed to play out. Furthermore, by having more of a blank slate in terms of, well, maps and also region locations, really plays into one of the strengths of Daggerheart, and that is everyone coming together to collectively tell the story. That means part of Session 0 is the party informing the GM where they are located on the map, and the GM can absolutely make a map for a given setting. It's called frames because it's a framework! And truthfully, these are principles you can adapt to your own game even if you don't run Daggerheart, by introducing mechanics into the world to help sell the fiction of the setting, as well as leaving blank spaces for the players to be able to have more input on the setting, thus creating a stronger investment within the world because, well, they had a part in creating it. And if you are looking to run a frame within Daggerheart or even, well, your own setting, I would say use the principles mentioned above. And if you're struggling to think of a mechanic for your own setting for Daggerheart, well, then I suggest find one of the existing frames, or a couple, use some of those mechanics and adopt them into your own setting and modify them as you see fit. But the ultimate strength of frames is that they give you enough to work with to inform you of the fiction of a given setting without overbearing you on information. As much as I love running games in the Forgotten Realms or even Golarion, the amount of existing lore can make it feel intimidating, even though you are free to ignore that lore. But still, the fact that so much already exists can turn people away. They give you the template of the story that is currently being told within that given frame. then tell you as the GM and party to go wild with it. Make it your own. So if you are looking for a frame to run for Daggerheart, ultimately go for the one that sounds the most interesting to you. That way you can more excitedly explain it and pitch it to your party. And then you can also modify the rules to make it potentially easier or even more challenging as you see fit, which is another strength of Daggerheart. It's fairly easily malleable to whatever location and story that you are telling. And that'll do it for this video, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you all next time.